Now, over 40 million MSMEs exist in Nigeria, employing over 80% of the country's population and contributing about 50% of the country's gross domestic product. In an effort to improve growth and fortify the sector, FG, as a federal government, is invigorating the MSMEs and nano businesses with an allocation of 125 billion naira. This financial support is to energize the backbone of the economy. Well, let's get talking and understand what this means for that sector. And with me again, live in the studio, is Chief Economist and partner with SPM Professionals, a friend of the house, Mr. Paul Alaje. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you so very much for having me, sir.
Yes, you're already aware of that. Speech is exactly 1 week. It was last Monday, right? Yes. And we see this move by government wanting to focus on MSMEs, nano businesses, all of these businesses that we tend to want to, they create these jobs that we need. First, let me say, as an economist, what is your understanding of this move?
First of all, I must say that this is a better presentation that came from Mr. President, like 8,000 naira that Mr. President has said this team was going to give to the poorest of the poor. You recall that we vehemently criticized that 8,000 naira. But when you saw that, I remember as soon as Mr. President was done with his speech, I was the first to comment on it. And I said, this is far better, it's more acceptable, even though Nigeria will still require more because of the extent of the concerns. So for me, the key sector of the economy is MSME. And you saw the number, millions of businesses in that sector, about 40 million in that sector. Government has said it's starting directly for SMEs, about 100,000 of them. Yeah, it's small, but it's a good start. But I wish government will intensify more in terms of giving to them. So it's good that we are looking at supporting small businesses directly. But we empower them enough. And for me, I was even thinking that when government eventually comes out with the programs or the document that will run the program, we'll be looking at 1 for 3. That is, for everybody that benefits from it, you are going to employ at least 2 or 3 people, verifiable. And the people you are employing are the people that have some economic challenges right now. Recall that the reason why government is doing this is not because government just wants to be Father Christmas.
Yes.
Government is doing this because the impact of subsidy removal and exchange rate unification, in the real sense, devaluation, is biting hand on the economy. Everyone is feeling it. The rich, 15% average of their 15% of their income is eroded. The poor, as high as 60% of their income is now going into increased cost of transportation. Should we do this? Yes. Must we do this now in the future? Yes. But what must we do to mitigate the impact, which of course is the real conversation we are having now? Is one of the things I think government should do. I think government should now capitalize on all of this by being deliberate. I told you that during President Buhari's administration, government said they were going to support young people. I think billions of naira was rolled, about 75 billion. I'm not sure of the right amount government said. But eventually, the Ministry of Labor and Employment said they were going to organize some youth, they will cut grass. You know, it's not different from what I saw in one of the states in Southwest, where, I don't know, maybe you call it OES or yes, so the youth will gather and start, you know, in 2 states, cutting grass. The grass will come back again. What is the economic value? If not, you're as good as just throwing money at them and say you are doing conditional cash transfer. But if you invest directly in the economies of these small businesses, they have experience. They are not going to be somebody who just want to start new business. No, existing businesses, at least 6 months, 1 year, draw a robust program with banks and ensure that the bank don't say they should point to where their great-grandfather died as a collateral. Before this, I
guess it should be as easy and seamless.
It should be as easy.
Yes,
you saw that, some hours before the president did that national broadcast, Mr. Dele Alake had also mentioned that for these university students, they're not going to review it because the fee has jumped. And where are they going to get this money? They are pointing that, hey, for Unity School, university, you will soon receive your own, because there could be price increase because of the realities of today. But with all of these increases, how do we boost? How do we as an economy? You see, when you put money in the economy, it's not just for people to get to people's hand. It's for people to recreate wealth. That is what we impart the GDP. So, but if you don't put this guideline and you don't put this, you don't make provision for his, with which wealth could be recreated, especially by small businesses, it may end up not having the kind of impact we are looking at. So yes, it's good, but it's not with the mechanism. Who are the people that will run it? How fast can we run this? You see, we're already losing time.
Yes.
Subsidy removal was announced 29th of May. First week of June, we started seeing the impact. We are no longer in June. We are no longer in July.
In August.
This is August. And today is 7th of August. August is not waiting for anybody. It's like an August visitor. He came to visit, he's running.
He's going.
And you're going to meet September very soon. That will be your next visitor. And we're all going to see it anyways. Now, so here is it. Government must do everything possible to make this program start now. Mr. President, look for a very convenient window by saying between July, I think the broadcast was on 31st of July.
Yes.
He said between July and March 2024.
Yeah.
That is a wide gap. Nigeria wants to start feeling the impact today. And I'm hoping that those that are working with government, they will do everything possible to start. You see, by now I was expecting that there would have been a program rolled out, would have known, okay, this central bank that is championing it. Is central bank partnering with the DFI, the Development Bank, the Development Financial Institution, or are we working directly with the microfinance banks? Are we working with commercial banks? All of those information
should come up with the proper way this would be handled. So that everybody is in tune.
So we're in tune, then we can now know that truly we have hope. If you have hope, there is something that is keeping the hope alive. The president has spoken, and when any president speaks his policy, so he has spoken. It now depends on those working with him to make sure the word of the president does not fall to the ground. And what does that mean? We need document to be housed. After the document, we want to know the fund has been released by central bank, the government's bank, of course, to XYZ institution. How will people be shortlisted? Are you going to have an online platform where people can go and list their business, provide proof of all of those things, and say whether you are small business, medium-scale business, or medium-scale business, large business, government is supporting with about 1 billion naira each. What will be the method of shortlisting? So that people can go and say, truly, I'm willing to employ 5 people. These are their CVs. This is the university they finished for. This is their NIM number. So that you can verify. This is what we make Nigeria say, truly, we have added 15,000 employments. It's not going to be the survey.
Because it's verified.
Yes, that the National Bureau of Statistics is carrying out. Which, of course, the methodology may change any time from now, but I would not want to talk about that on this show, because that's not the core. So, verifiably, how many people with verifiable NIM has been helped? People that have challenges going to work, and government can now say the minimum wage is changing. I've been saying to those in government, minimum wage should not be less than 80K. 80K, minimum. I'm not saying maximum wage. I'm saying minimum wage. It should not be less than 80K. In fact, in the real sense, it should be 85,000 or 90,000. Because it will not be fair to pay people less than $100 a month. Because in some countries...
Inflation is waiting for you.
Inflation will wait for me. Already, inflation is faster than we think. He wants to build a cocoa house. He's already got into 22nd floor. He's got into 22nd, and he's not on 22nd. He's already on the staircase because the lift is not working. And we should be happy the lift is not working. It's a bit slow down. He's getting the staircase going to the 23rd floor. He will most likely get to 23rd floor by the time you see the July number. It will most likely get to 23rd floor. But how do we curtail it from getting to the rooftop of Cocoa House, which of course is 25-story building, so that we can reduce it and take him out of the building and perhaps take him to a much lower building, maybe of 12%, 10%, maximum 15% within the next 1 year. Because how do we continue to say we are building growth or we are having growth, but inflation is looking at our pocket? Right now, we are all on the lower ground. It's on the 22nd story building. That is why everybody is feeling the impact, because it's ascending faster than so many people right now.
Mr. Paul, let's talk about manufacturing sector. Also another very critical sector when it comes to job creation, and particularly about job creation, because it's important to address this issue of the high figures we get from MBS. Like we know how they come up with these figures, but it's not looking good at all. 75 billion naira for 75 manufacturers will be able to access 1 billion naira each at about 9%. That looks good.
Excellent, but I think we should, instead of looking at 75, we should be looking at a minimum of 750. We should multiply that figure by 10. That is why I say we don't know. We know the president as a man of strategy. That could be his first batch is throwing at us.
Yeah.
So, and we have to be very careful in saying this could be the beginning, because government says that they've saved over ₦1 trillion from subsidy removal. So if you have saved ₦1 trillion and we're rolling out a program of about 500 billion, yeah, it's fair, so that the state government can also have. You see, what I wanted in all of this, what I've always said should be done is, yes, government, subnational and federal government is making their part from the gains saved from subsidy, but some must go back directly into the economy. So that is why I said this could be the first, but we may have more coming. I'm not sure, but I'm saying it would be nice if we have more. So here is it. Manufacturing sector is very key. And for any country that wants to grow at all, that has our kind of size, not because of the numbers, but because of the environment we find ourselves. The largest country in Asia is arguably China or India. China takes, sometimes India takes, but in the next projection of about 5 years, you are going to see that completely India would overtake China in terms of population. What is the target of China? How did China move away from our 8,000 naira we're giving to people, which was the policy China was practicing about 40 years ago? We get money, government will share to people. But it failed. Again, it failed, again, it failed, again, it failed. China realized that with their population, they need to do something. Yeah, China practiced birth control. Everybody's shying away from that in Nigeria. Our birth control is high, but we just feel that we can go ahead with it. It's a topic. If President Tinubu can announce subsidy removal, and at the same time, which of course has never happened in Nigeria history, also floats the currency, back-to-back effect, we also need to look at critical things that is bringing us to have problems. One of them is birth control. We must discuss this issue. All the gains we have, see, if by the end of today, 60,000 individuals will join us. Tomorrow, 60,000 individuals. The number will soon be increasing because cumulative effect. You'll soon be having 70,000, 80,000, 100,000. By the year 2050, we're no longer going to be the Nigeria.
It's about 400 million.
400 million people.
400
million people.
That's scary.
So what will happen to demand? Demand is sending signal to supply. You heard Minister of Petroleum say demand and supply will educate prices. The question is, how many supplier of PMS do you have in Nigeria? Limited the number. How many demand side do you have? Huge. Plus our neighboring country that have relatively lower prices and feel they can feed, and relatively higher price they feel they can feed on us. So, but if our population almost multiply and overtakes America, and we don't have that kind of economy. So let's go back to the real conversation. Manufacturing, China, India, go to North America, where you have US and Canada. US take the largest population, significantly higher than Nigeria's population. But what are they doing? Technology and manufacturing. They are not focused just on agriculture. Leave America, go to Germany, in the west part of Europe. You see Germany. What is popular in Africa that we know Germany for is German machine. Even their football team are mistakenly called German machine. They are never called German farms. So that should say signature. Go to South America, where you have Brazil. Brazil now has policy that is deliberately focused on manufacturing. Very similar to our population number. But come to Nigeria. For 8 years, even not for 8 years, I've been following this economy for about 27 years now. And government now have made it, they painted it to us that without agriculture, we cannot succeed. Yeah, partially correct, but it's not complete truth. But you see, whatever you produce in agriculture, your farm output must significantly be processed by you, because that's where you add value.
Adding value.
So if we produce cocoa, the question is, who is turning it to chocolate for us?
We take it abroad, and we bring it.
If we produce crude, what happened is that the nature that created us, God Almighty that created, we live in the nature. God created us. Now, that's the assumption, at least for most of the religion in Nigeria. Yeah. About 90% of and I'm one of those that believe that God created us, by the way. So if God created us, and what we find under our foot that we did not create, that was created before us, we employ people from abroad to help us bring them out. We are also not adding our brain. Even though we have a location, a factory, we call refinery, to refine it. And that is costing us a lot. Even if the price is 300, even if the price is 400, how about labor, jobs that will be guaranteed within our economy? How about the strength of our currency? Because each time you export, each time you import, you are telling central bank, I'm about to give you a blow on your currency. When you import, Naira will definitely go down because there is demand for dollar. Who is now demanding for Naira? So each time we do that, we are importing PMS into the country. Meanwhile, the crude oil we export, there are other products that we are not talking about. kerosene, jet A1, all manner of things are in it. Yeah. Can we start making that available in Nigeria today? So manufacturing is the way to go because of the nature of our population. I said, look at it. They said, follow after those who through diligence and patience have received the promise. We need to copy correctly. We need to look at population that have our size, like India, like China, like Indonesia, like the United States, like Brazil. These are populations that in their continent, they are the superpower of some sort. They are the giants in those areas of some sort. But when it came to Africa, that is why Africa will go nowhere if Nigeria is not going anywhere. And the truth is that all African leaders understand this. That is why all of them are saying, Nigeria, you are the giant, but why are you sleeping? We need you to stand up because we believe in you. That's why all African leaders, we always revolve around us. And I can tell you that we have the potential. Our production the possibility is high. But the real implementation of Nigeria is, and I think Nigeria, for the first time, we saw two policies back to back. Nigeria did not protest. Labour even went on one-day protest. I tell you. So what does it mean? Nigeria have gotten to a point where they say, we have the population. We have a government who is currently enjoying honeymoon. Government, we want this honeymoon to lead to a conception. What does that mean? We want to give birth to a new Nigeria where food affordability is no longer an issue, where out-of-school children will crash from 12 million people to about 2 million people, while unemployment projected by what's it called now? By, National Bureau of Statistics called it 33.3%. Yes. But there is another international organization among the big four who is projecting approximately 40%. Yes. Now, how do we crash unemployment figure to single digits without manipulating the methodology? How do we break, this house that inflation is competing with Cocoa House down to a single digit? How do we do that? How do we produce more? How do we have capacity? That is why Nigeria has now given their trust to government. That is why when government make announcement of two policies side by side, Nigeria are groaning, but they are not on the street. They are not on the street. There are things that did not get up to this. You see Nigeria on the street. But Nigeria are not on the street because they say, let's give this a chance. But the truth is that we can use hope to eat breakfast. That hope will not still be there for you to say we will use it to eat dinner. We are in the breakfast period now. We are soon going to move into lunch. But, before we get to lunch, I'm happy the president has announced before 60 days who his ministers will be. Yeah. I remember that I had that conversation with you the last time. Yes. These people, how soon can they get to work? Yes. Yes. And I've said that, there are few persons there who I believe are competent. And I also feel persons which just be political compensation, because Constitution says you have to pick people from different states. Whether the person has capacity or not is a different ballgame to fulfill all righteousness, because we are one nation, Nigeria. And I hope that, of course, the development of this country will come forth on the heart of everybody that has been appointed and chosen by His Excellency, Mr. President. I must thank you so much, Mr. Paul Alaje. It's always nice having you, of course, even live in the studio, either from Abuja or Lagos. It's always interesting. And thanks for your insight into all of this, policy issues and how we can, of course, get things right. The country must work. That is what we need at the end of the day. Thank you so much again, and do have a very great week. Thank you so very much.